Bro, it's time to stop chasing women. I'm saying this not to make you cold or extreme. I'm saying it because I've seen too many men exhausting themselves in a chase that has no finish line. The more you run, the more breathless you become. The harder you try, the more lost you get. You think you're moving forward, but in reality, you're being pulled into a vortex that drains your focus, your energy, and even the respect you have for yourself. Bro, listen carefully. The problem isn't women. The problem is that you've made them the center of your life, while you haven't even learned to stand firm yourself. I've seen too many young men spend their entire day revolving around texts, attention, or the emotions of a girl they don't even truly understand. And when things don't go their way, they collapse, thinking they're not good enough. The truth is the opposite. You simply placed your priorities in the wrong place. I want you to understand this from the start. Stopping the chase isn't about avoiding love. It's about reclaiming control over your own life. It's about putting yourself back at the center. And when you do that, everything else, including women, naturally falls into the place where it's meant to be. For you to understand why you must stop chasing women, we need to look directly at what started all of this. Because that exhausting cycle, it didn't appear out of nowhere. It began in your youth, from the belief that you're only a real man if you have a girlfriend. You only have value if you can conquer someone. And honestly, most of us have been trapped there. From 18 to 30, nearly every man gets pulled into the desire to prove himself through relationships. Sometimes it's wanting someone to show off to friends. Sometimes it's wanting to feel chosen. Sometimes it's to fill a void you haven't had the courage to confront. I know that feeling well. Seeing a happy couple on the street suddenly makes you feel lacking. Scrolling online and seeing guys show off their beautiful girlfriends suddenly makes you feel inferior. And so you throw yourself into half-hearted pursuits, shallow connections, emotions that rise fast and fade just as quickly. But it's not entirely your fault. This era creates too many illusions. Social media hits your brain with dopamine like a sweet trap. After just a few minutes of scrolling, you've already seen dozens of perfect images, edited pretty girls, date videos lit like movies, love stories that sound like fairy tales, and then your brain starts comparing, your heart starts rushing, your self-worth starts getting distorted. We forget that in real life. No one lives like TikTok. No one wakes up with a filter on their face. No one loves without conflict, without boredom, without moments of wanting to let go. But because you're so used to the perfect content, you think you must reach a standard that doesn't exist. And that belief makes you think having a girlfriend complete. No girlfriend were lacking. That is the biggest scam for young men. Bro, hear me clearly on this. It isn't wrong to want love. It isn't wrong to want companionship. That's human nature. But what's wrong is letting that desire pull the strings of your whole life. Wrong is letting emotions dictate your direction. Wrong is turning love into the measurement of your worth. I don't want you to live like that, because living that way means even if you get someone, you won't truly stand firm. And when you can't stand firm, love becomes a way to cover a void, not to build something lasting. You must understand at the root that your value doesn't lie in having a girlfriend, but in who you are becoming. When you truly grasp this, you finally gain the calm to stop running, stop chasing, stop clinging. And that is the first step to taking your life back. When you understand how that youthful illusion operates, you'll clearly see something else, something many people don't want to face, but that ultimately decides so many things in life. It's this: more people leave than stay. This isn't a pessimistic statement. It's a truth that every mature man must accept, swallow, and digest as part of the journey of growing up. Young relationships rarely last, not because anyone is bad or wrong, but because at that age, both people still don't know who they truly are. I've seen many beautiful couples, full of love and full of promise, yet just a few years of stepping into real life, and everything changes. People change, careers change, environments change, mindsets change. Sometimes, only a few months into a new phase, the very thing that brought them together becomes the very thing that pushes them apart, and no one is wrong in that. It's simply that modern life moves at a pace the heart can't always keep up with. We live in an era where stability has become a luxury. A job can disappear after a single email. A city can transform completely within a few years. A person can become someone entirely different after just one turning point. So, bro, I need you to hear this clearly. Don't build the skyscraper of your life on temporary ground. Don't place all your hope in a relationship when you yourself are still in the phase of trial and error, change and adjust. I know youth falls in love easily. It easily believes that this love is forever. But the truth is, most people we meet during that time are simply there to teach us something, and then they continue their journey. And so do we. The most painful part isn't that they leave, it's that we built too much around them. We forget that a man's life must have its own axis, its own foundation, its own direction. A good relationship can walk with you. But it cannot be the only pillar holding your whole life up, because if that pillar collapses, you collapse with it. And I never want to see any of my brothers go through that again. What I want is for you to build the foundation first, then build the house. Stand firm first, then dare to keep someone beside you, because only when you stand firm can you love in a healthy way without clinging too tightly, without losing yourself, and without falling apart when life shifts direction. And that is how a man truly grows up. When you understand that youth is full of upheaval, and that people change faster than you think, you'll see something obvious, but most often forgotten. If everything around you can change, then the only thing you can rely on is your own path. And this is where I want to say the most important thing in this entire video, the thing that, if you understand it, your life will shift in a completely different way. Bro, a man must have a path. Without a path, women don't even know how to follow your lead. Without a path, you yourself don't even know what you're living for. I see too many men placing their hope in a relationship, in a girl, in a fleeting feeling, but not placing hope in themselves. And that is the real problem. Women, friends, society, they cannot walk the path you have to walk on your own. They can accompany you, but they cannot lead. You must be the one holding the steering wheel of your own life. And to do that, a man needs 3 main pillars, 3 essential foundations that anyone who wants to live firmly must have. First, career and skills. In the age of AI, automation, and technology changing every month, anyone without skills gets left behind immediately. A man doesn't need to be rich right away, but he must have a direction for growth. He must have something he gets better at every year. He must have something he is building. I'm not talking about chasing money at all costs. I'm talking about value. Because when you have value, life opens its doors on its own. When you have skills, confidence comes from within, not from praise or attention from anyone else. And women, naturally, are attracted to that not because of money, but because of stability. Second, health, physical and mental. A man cannot go far if his body is weak, his mind is chaotic, and his heart is exhausted. Health isn't something to show off. It's a responsibility a man has to himself. The healthier you are, the clearer you become, the clearer you are, the sharper you are. And when your mental state is stable, you don't demand from women the things you must first give yourself: peace, balance, respect. Many relationships fail simply because men walk into them while still unhealed, unstable, and without a foundation. And women, no matter how good they are, cannot heal those things for you. Third, long-term goals and the legacy you want to leave. And a man who lives without goals gets pulled into everything around him: fleeting emotions, meaningless pursuits, invisible validation. But a man with goals is entirely different. Every day has direction, every decision has a reason, and everyone who walks beside him can feel that stability. I want you to think about this question. If tomorrow no one is beside me anymore, where is my life still heading? If you can answer that, that is your direction. If you can't, then that is the most important thing you must find right now. Because long-term goals don't just give you purpose, they help you choose the right person to walk with you. When you know where you're going, you don't choose based on temporary feelings. You don't love because you're lonely. You don't hold on to someone because you fear emptiness. You choose because they align, and that is the most beautiful form of male maturity. Bro, I want you to understand this clearly, women, friends, society. They are people who walk with you, not people who walk in your place. No one has the responsibility to lead your life except you. And when you put your path first, when you live for something bigger than momentary emotions, when you build the foundation first before building the house, love arrives in a completely different way. It becomes lighter, deeper, and more lasting, because at that point, you're not looking for someone to fill a void, you're looking for someone to walk the journey you've chosen, and that is how a man truly lives according to his nature. Once you understand that a man must have his own path, you'll start seeing everything around you with a different clarity. And this is when I want to talk about a very sensitive topic, but one we cannot skip: women and distraction. Not to blame, not to criticize, but so you can look straight at it, see it honestly, and understand the real nature of this issue. Because if you don't understand it, it's very easy for emotions to pull you off the path you've worked so hard to build. Bro. I'm saying this from the experience of someone who has witnessed far too many cases. A relationship can be a powerful force that pushes a man forward, but it can also be the fastest reason a man loses his direction. Not because women want to pull you off track, but because you walk into it without your own foundation, without boundaries, without internal stability. And when a man isn't steady, he loses himself in love very easily. I'm telling you the truth, and saying it with the voice of an older brother. Loving at the wrong time can cost you 2 to 5 years of your life. Just like that. Not because love is bad, but because you entered it from emptiness, not fullness. I've seen many young men fall in love out of loneliness, out of wanting validation, out of wanting to escape the pressure of life. And when you love for those reasons, you cling, you hold on, you over-sacrifice. You place the other person in a position where you yourself should be standing. And in the end, when things don't go your way, the collapse comes very quickly. In today's society, this happens even more easily. Pay attention. There are far too many people using love as a temporary painkiller for the emptiness inside them. They don't solve the root, they simply cover it with emotion. And that emotion at first is beautiful, intense, consuming. But when the emotion fades, the inner issues come back even stronger. That's when emotional dependency begins to form the thing people call codependency, a type of relationship where two people rely on each other to emotionally survive. Instead of standing firm on their own and then stepping into love with self-control, I want you to understand this emotional dependency is not deep love. It is an imbalance. It's when you can no longer distinguish between real feelings and the need for reassurance. And this condition is rising in the age of social media, where people constantly compare their lives to the perfect images of others. The more they compare, the more dissatisfied they become. The more dissatisfied, the more they want someone to fill their emptiness. But no one can do that forever. No one can carry the emotional responsibility of another person if that person hasn't taken responsibility for themselves first. So bro, I want to close this part with something clear, strong, and important. A man must know how to keep boundaries, not from fear, but from focus. Not from fear, but from focus. Keeping boundaries isn't about avoiding women. Keeping boundaries is about protecting your path. Keeping boundaries is about entering love with clarity, stability, and the ability to truly walk alongside someone. When you put your focus in the right place, you're no longer swept away by momentary emotions, no longer building relationships on temporary ground, and no longer losing yourself for someone you love but haven't understood. And only at that point are you truly ready for a mature, healthy, and lasting relationship. When you understand distraction, boundaries, and why so many relationships pull you off your path, you will naturally begin asking a very important question. So if I don't chase women, what should I be chasing? And this is the part I want you to listen to very carefully, because it is the key to shifting your entire life in a better direction. Because when a man places his focus in the right place, everything else, including women, rearranges itself in the most natural way. Bro, this is the gravity mindset, the masculine gravity principle. When you become the best version of yourself, you don't need to chase anyone. Life turns toward you, the right person finds you, opportunities appear on their own. This isn't a cliché philosophy, it is how life actually works, because humans are naturally drawn toward what is valuable, stable, and clear. When you invest in yourself, gain skills, upgrade your mindset, train your body, build your career, keep your emotions steady, you are creating that gravitational pull. Let me explain it with modern logic so it's easier to grasp. High personal value creates natural attraction. When you become better, more confident, more stable, people feel that energy without you having to say anything, not because you are trying to appear attractive, but because your life itself has become attractive. And bro, calmness, stability, inner composure is sometimes more attractive than looks. A calm man gives a sense of safety. And safety is a huge need in modern love, where everything can change with a single swipe on a screen. And most importantly, a man with a clear goal naturally radiates an energy that makes others want to walk with him. People look at you and see direction, a path, a consistency, and that makes them want to walk beside you, not pull you off your road. The most beautiful love, bro, is not two people holding hands and running around without direction, but two people looking toward the same horizon without having to drag each other. But I also want to remind you gently so you don't misunderstand, focusing on yourself does not mean being numb, not cold, not closed off. It means knowing priorities, knowing what must come first, knowing what must be built solidly before you bring someone into your life. When you place yourself in the right position, love becomes the addition, not the support beam. Women stop being something you chase and become someone who naturally walks with you. And at that point, you don't just attract the right person, you keep the right person, because you enter love from fullness, not from emptiness. That is the power of personal gravity. That is how a man makes life turn toward him without needing to chase anything or anyone. When you understand the power of personal gravity, you will realize something simple but extremely important to place your life into the right orbit. You must first stand in the right position. And this is the final part, the part I want to say slowly, more deeply. Like an older brother placing a hand on your shoulder to remind you gently, but sincerely, bro, you have the right to love. You have the right to be happy. But don't trade your entire life just to keep someone when you yourself still don't know who you are. The most beautiful love doesn't come from trying hard to hold on. It comes from the steadiness of two people. And to be steady, a man must build the foundation before the relationship. I want you to remember 3 things you need before stepping into any relationship. 1, stable financial footing. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be flashy, just enough to take care of yourself. Enough so your emotions aren't controlled by the pressure of survival. When a man is financially independent, his emotions become independent too. 2, emotional stability. A steady heart allows you to love without clinging, share without depending, and give without hurting yourself. A man with emotional stability creates peace, not chaos. 3, clear direction. When you know where you're going, you won't get lost, won't be pulled off course, and you won't choose the wrong person to walk with you. The right person will walk beside you without you having to sacrifice yourself to keep them. I want to end with 1 sentence for you to carry for many years. A man who knows where he's going is the man who holds the power of choice. Not the power to choose women, but the power to choose his life. And when a man chooses the right life, the right love will come on its own, will stay on its own, without you having to chase anyone.